Hey there.
How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Larissa, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Doing amazing. I'm doing
Awesome.
amazing. Yeah. Can you see me and hear me clearly?
Yeah, yeah. What about me?
Awesome.
Good?
Yeah, you're coming in crystal.
Awesome.
Coming in crystal. So beautiful. Thank you for joining us today. It's a wonderful time right now. I feel a lot more aligned than ever. And I just was wondering, I'd love to hear and learn more about your journey, your story, because it just seems like you're putting out so much positive energy on your platform. I love the perception, I love the connection, and I love your direction,
Oh,
because there's so many people that I feel are just coming into new thoughts, new perspectives, and new state of awareness for us as a collective. So, yeah, just thank you. First of all, just thank you for coming on today.
thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm really excited. I haven't really done too many Instagram lives, so this is fun.
What's the reason for that you haven't done too many of these?
I don't know. I should probably start hosting some on my page, but just busy doing other things, creating content in other ways, and yeah, just it hasn't really been something I've set the intention to do, but I'm realizing that I should probably do it more because it's fun.
For sure, it is. It's one of the things that I just really enjoy doing. It is fun for me as well, and it's interesting that you talk about, setting the intention. One moment, let me get the cat here. There's
Oh,
a cat.
I love cats.
Yeah, he's over there messing with something. Anyway, you're a very intentional being. You're very intentional. It seems like you do a lot of things with intention. So when it comes to who you are, Larissa, like if nobody knew anything about you, how would you describe yourself?
Mm, I would say that I'm someone who has, uh, I guess, tapped into the awareness of the power that I myself hold, as well as all of us hold, as the powerful creators that we really are. And I try to intentionally do things every single day to stay in alignment with that awareness and always coming back to the reminder that we are powerful creative beings. And yeah, so that really inspires all the decisions I make throughout my day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Beautifully put. That awareness and that power that we have within us, you know, when did you come into that awareness? Some people, they talk about having a spiritual awakening. Some people talk about, in 2012, that was a big year for many people. There are just so
Hmm.
many different times in history, during this time period that people have just been sprouting like, flowers just blossoming and blooming and just, opening up in so many beautiful new ways. So
Mm-hmm.
when was it, if you could recall, was there a moment? Like, what was the time that you opened up in that way?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the year 2012. That was actually the year I graduated high school. And during that time period, I was probably at the lowest point in my life, like hitting rock bottom with my mental health and my physical health, just like really severe depression, anxiety. And I was diagnosed with different health conditions and put on medication. And I really just didn't know, anything about health and wellness back then. I was, only 17 years old. But that point in my life of hitting rock bottom was actually the inspiration I needed in my life to shift and change because I realized like if I'm going to continue living my life, I need to figure out a way to actually enjoy my life and so I slowly started like reading spiritual books. I slowly started like learning about health and wellness and years later I would say like the most pivotal point in my life after like slowly becoming more and more awakened was when I decided to go vegan and then that like helped shift my vibration, on that physical level it started changing everything and then another pivotal point was have you ever heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Dr. Joe.
I've been to like four of his meditation retreats now, but when I went to my first one, yeah, when I went to my first one, I believe it was in 2022. That changed my life too. That really just like I had already been meditating for pretty consistently for a couple years leading up to that, but that just like changed everything for me. So there was just like these few pivotal points that have been huge awakenings that have, followed with a few like dark nights of the soul where you just kind of have to like crumble into the nothingness and rebuild yourself and just constantly going through this evolution as a human. And I've learned to embrace that and not really live in fear of the unknown and of the painful times and letting them turn into actually blessings once I can extract the wisdom from them. So it's just been a long journey of evolution so far, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
We can tell. We can tell. We can feel the joy coming from you. And, we feel that enthusiasm and that bright light, like that energy that you exude in all of your videos.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's, yeah, and it's interesting because when you're talking about these pivotal points, like if we could unpack that, it's so fascinating when you say that actually 2012 was when you graduated, but that you were facing so many health conditions and problems. What were some of those health conditions and problems that you were facing?
So it all started like when I was a teenager and I started having really severe acne, and then I was trying to figure out like what was the cause of that. But the doctors in the modern society, they just want to put a band-aid on it and tell you to take this pill or do this or do that doesn't actually get to the root cause. I did eventually like go and get my blood work done, and then I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes. So they put me on diabetic medication, and they were like, well, this is probably contributing to your acne. And they didn't really give me any good like advice though to actually heal it. They just put me on medication
Mm.
and said that I would have to take that medication for the rest of my life. And of course, all these medications have negative side effects. So it's not really the best, answer for any of these health conditions. And I didn't know any better, just growing up in standard society, not questioning things, just trusting the doctors. But as time went on, it was in my divine purpose to start to slowly wake up with all these little triggers. And so, yeah, everything was like perfectly divinely guided and in perfect divine timing. I, started awakening, and all these little golden nuggets started coming into my life through people I would meet or books I would read or documentaries I would watch. And yeah, I just love learning new things. So I just always, put myself in the direction of learning new information. And that's why I started getting into Dr. Joe and going to his retreats and yeah, just watching documentaries about health and wellness. And yeah, being on a plant-based, raw, vegan diet has really changed everything for me.
For
I was able
sure.
to reverse all my health conditions and just start living my dream life because I feel so good now. Now I have the energy to like go out there and make a difference in the world. So it's exciting.
Absolutely. It is. It is exciting when you feel and you reveal the possibilities. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you see that you can open doors when there were once only walls. For some people it feels like there's just a wall, like there's no way out. Like they're closed in, but then you see that there's a window, or there's a door, or there's a door not, and all you have to do is just, and the key could be breathing, or the key could be changing the diet or changing your lifestyle or watching a documentary that gives you another thing that you never knew that you already had, just planting that seed, just letting you know like you have all that you need,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
so it really hits home what you're talking about, Larissa, when you're talking about doctors diagnosing things, pre-diabetes, saying that, hey, Larissa, you're going to be on meds for the rest of your life. This is just the way things are. It hits home because I have family members of my own, loved ones that are very close to me, and you see that they have those pills, like they just have, You know, the whole row is just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like all the whole week, and they just have these pills for that day. They take that day, and then the next day they
Mhm.
take those pills, and then the next day they take those pills. And that's regular. That's very normal for a lot of people. And so,
Mhm.
what did you find out was your number one, or a solution that was a game changer for you when it came to not being on that path, but being on a different path?
Mhm. Well, it really woke me up. I ended up watching the documentary called What the Health, and they basically show how the system works when it comes to like the junk food and, you know, the animal agriculture industry and the pharmaceutical industry, and how they all kind of know that they're harming people's health, but it's a business and they want to make money, so they all kind of work together to keep everybody sick so that they can all keep making money. They make the food really addicting, and then it makes you want to eat more, and it's also nutritionally devoid, so like you're just always hungry, and then it makes you sick, so then you go to big pharma to get the solution, but then one pill has these side effects that makes you have to take another pill and then another pill and then another pill to combat all the side effects. So you're just funneling money into these big industries' pockets. So the solution, like we've known for years, for centuries, forever, is let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And, you know, practices like breath work and fasting and letting the body heal itself. And we have these perfect vessels that know how to heal, and we just have to get out of the way and let them heal. So it just took me on a journey to realizing, so especially with like insulin resistance, which is pre-diabetes, they tell us that sugar is the cause of it. And of course, like processed sugar is not good for us, but I learned how fruit, it's full of sugar, yet it's so good for us. And it's actually not sugar that's causing diabetes, it's too much fat. And so the solution to actually healing and reversing diabetes is to reducing your fat intake, which means no longer eating animal products because they're full of really harmful, like saturated fats. And then I also completely avoid like oils. So anything like processed, even like healthy oils, they're still processed. They're not a whole food. You want to eat an olive, not olive oil. And so basically reducing the fat intake, I learned, is actually how you heal and reverse diabetes. And so I just started, you know, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, and all the problems went away. My skin cleared up, you know, I had really bad inflammation in my joints, really achy, painful joint pain, and yeah, just like, you know, brain fog, all of these issues that just went away when I started eating just raw, living plant foods, fruits and vegetables. And that's all you need. It's like, it's so simple. Nature has all the answers for us, and we don't need to buy into these lies of the system that keep us stuck as like prisoners and slaves to the system. Like it's all just it's designed for us to fail.
Wow, wow. This is tremendous. You know, I love that you're just speaking this testimony, like, and I love the conviction that you give when you're talking about this, because even when you just mentioned that, I heard a Bob Marley song in my mind talking about, you know, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, that
Yeah,
none but ourselves can free our minds,
so
you
true.
know? And it's
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. Like I was under that, you know, the huge hypnosis. I was under that same programming. I was under the same kind of, just the ideologies of, oh, I need this to survive, or oh, if I don't have this, I won't thrive, or oh, I need this to be alive, or you know, and it was just very deeply ingrained. But then it started to change, and that's when you found your whole range of things like that you can actually let go to bring in even more flow when you
Yeah.
let these things go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, talking about flow, like on a spiritual perspective, we have, you know, energy that flows in our body. And when we have all these blockages due to eating an improper diet, you know, blockages, especially in the digestive tract, then that causes the energy that wants to flow naturally in our body to get stuck. And then once you clean out your digestive tract through, you know, eating lots of fruits and vegetables or fasting or juicing, And finally you can feel that energy just flow effortlessly, and you feel like you start to feel more of your power, and then you become, just a more empowered individual where, like I said, you have more energy, and like I just feel more of a joy and vibrancy for life. And yeah, I think practice, I think like a lot of people when they, you know, embark on this journey of like going from a standard American diet to maybe like plant-based to maybe raw to maybe juicing, like that transition, you just kind of naturally embark on a spiritual journey as well, it seems. And I think it
Mhm.
has a lot to do with that non-physical aspect of energy flow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. They both go hand in hand, you
Mm-hmm.
know. You definitely do. It becomes very spiritual for sure. And you know, some of the things that you said also hit home because when you're talking about every pill has another pill and that has another pill that has another pill, and someone even commented while you were talking, Larissa, and they said the same goes for psychiatry. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when I was young, I was diagnosed with, ADHD and saying I had depression for this and I couldn't focus for that, and then Adderall for this and Ritalin for that and Concerta for this and Strattera for that, and like all these pharmaceuticals that I took. And then later they said, "Oh, well, you didn't need any of those," So I'm thinking to myself, well, what was the damage? What damage has already been done? That how can I rectify this? So when we're talking about that, and as well, my mom's a doctor, and there's so much about nutrition that is not given. There's so much information that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't know a lot when it comes to the diet, the lifestyle, exercise. It's just really like, okay, we'll just write this and then you take this,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so some people, I feel like it is, in the grand scheme of things, it's not in the best interest of the whole to understand like raw vegan, fasting, juicing, like all this stuff. But once we get a hold of the knowledge, there's a freedom, like
Yeah.
I think you've already heard this probably, but they say that a healthy person has maybe like 1,000 wishes,
Mm-hmm.
but then a sick person has just one, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just to remove that pain or that feeling or that anguish that they're going through. That's all they want. When you have a painful migraine headache or those pains and aches in your body, or just your gastrointestinal, like things just happening like that, that's all you want, to just relieve that. But you don't really feel a whole bunch of energy to do what you feel that you can do, or do what you want to do, or do what you could do, or what you even feel like you should do. Like all those things get diverted,
Yeah.
to what is the priority, like survival.
Mm-hmm.
How do I keep myself alive? And when we're in desperation, yeah, yeah, sometimes we can find inspiration in desperation. So
Mm-hmm.
when it came to the books that started to come to you, what were some of those spiritual books that you talked about, Larissa, that opened that field even more?
So the first book that was ever given to me that was like a spiritual book is a really small one. So if anybody is new to spirituality or new to meditation, or just wants a really small book with a lot of good information, it's called Zen and the Art of Happiness by Chris Prentice. And that was kind of the first time I had ever been given this awareness of, oh, I can tap into my thoughts and just observe them, just kind of like watch my thought patterns, and then I guess gain a greater awareness for how my mind operates. And then from there, I could start to shift those patterns. And I never had that awareness before of actually just slowing down and listening to these patterns that are just going through my brain. And yeah, just like slowing down and taking time to like just go inward. I had never had that concept before. So that was the first one. And then, of course, I started getting into the teachings of Dr. Joe
Mhm.
Dispenza, which was really like, he's probably my most influential spiritual teacher, like, completely has shifted my perception of reality because the way he teaches about quantum physics and like epigenetics and neuroscience, like that's all very, very interesting to me. And I've really become a much more empowered person through applying his practices and doing his meditations and stuff. Um, but I've also really liked books by Eckhart
Mm.
Tolle, and I recently read The Surrender Experiment by uh, what's his name? His last name is Singer. Um, he also wrote The Untethered Soul. Do you know?
Okay, is that like Michael
Michael
Singer?
Singer, yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
But The Surrender Experiment, that was a really, really cool book. So those are like probably my top favorite. Oh, and also I've listened to almost every Dolores Cannon book on Audible.
Nice.
Like, I cannot stress too as well, like how much her information has also been so life changing. Like, Dolores Cannon. I think that her books are nice to just listen to on Audible because since a lot of the books are her doing like hypnotherapy sessions, it's kind of like a dialogue that you get to listen to the whole time. So it's more enjoyable to read or to listen rather than read, in my opinion. But life changing information in those books.
Wow, wow. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you for all these recommendations.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
thank you for these. These are really valuable for people to know because, when you're going back down memory lane and you're just seeing like from whence you came, you're seeing where you came from and now you see where you are and now you know where you're going. The energy's flowing, the energy's growing.
Yeah.
So you said Zen and the Art of
Mm-hmm.
Happiness, right? You said Dr. Joe, I know that's Becoming Supernatural,
Mm-hmm.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and so many Dr. Joe books. Then you said Eckhart Tolle, so that's The Power of
Mm-hmm.
Now, New Earth,
Yeah.
Power of Now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul, and The Surrender Experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So just for those who are listening, if they want to write those down, very very valuable books there. And when it came to meditation, were you ever big on meditation like years ago?
So I've been I started doing meditation shortly after I went vegan. So I've been vegan for 7 years now. So yeah, it was kind of like I said, like that link between, cleaning up the diet, cleaning up your vessel, and then making room for that energy to flow. And then it kind of just takes you along a spiritual journey. So it all kind of went together. And my life shifted in a lot of big ways when I went vegan. Because I also like went sober. I stopped drinking and just like I got off all my medication, and yeah, so I started meditating about like 7 years ago, and yeah, it's a practice. It's grown daily. I've developed the skill more and more over the years because it was not easy when I first started.
No, no, I mean, I can only imagine, that like
Yeah.
when we first begin, it's like learning how to walk again sometimes, it's
Mm-hmm.
like learning a whole new skill. It's like a baby that's crawling and, you're figuring it out. You're standing up, you're falling, you're standing up, you're crawling, you're like trying to bring your mind back to the moment or bring your mind back to the breath and find that anchor point. And sometimes you have all these thoughts, they're just raging and then you just then sometimes there's even dark thoughts or maybe for different people, different strokes for different folks, they're battling with themselves and they beat themselves up. We can be our own worst critics at times and say, oh, I can't meditate, I tried that, I tried meditation, it doesn't work for me, I'm not one of those people. But I love what you said, it's a practice.
Yeah, exactly. Every single day I wake up and I try to just practice this skill that I set the intention that I want to develop it more and more and get better at it. And some days, years later, I can have like an incredible meditation where I just am super, super like in silence and in stillness for an entire hour. Or sometimes still like, my mind is just like thinking about so many things, and it's like I just have to keep coming back to the breath. And I've learned too that like the biggest part of meditation is to not do it perfectly, like that's not the point, but it's just to be like non-judgmental and gentle on yourself and just observe where you're at. And as soon as you just witness yourself, like whether it's you're having all these thoughts or whatever, you're stressed, as soon as you just become the witness of whatever you're going through, then it really starts to calm down. It's just shifting from being like your thoughts to actually just being the observer.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that is awesome. Just the way that you put it, was perfect. It's I love that, like being the witness. It's like spiritual fitness, you know?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I love how you said just being gentle and non-judgmental.
Hmm.
Being gentle and non-judgmental. That's beautiful. It even rhymed. I love
Yeah.
that.
I love that. Yeah. Well, I've found like, when you start getting frustrated,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, they start trying to meditate and they're like, I'm not good at it. My mind can't shut off. It's like, okay, that's fine. Don't try to shut off your mind. Just observe it. Just observe it. And instead of going down that loop of I'm not good or
Right.
I can't do it, just observe it. And like that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when you start to actually start meditating.
Right.
But it's a practice. It's a practice.
Right. Observation, that's definitely the vibration, observation, relaxation, letting go of all frustration, just relax back into it and don't crack the whip, on yourself so hard, and understand that it's a learning, understand that it's a journey. And, speaking of sobriety, when you said that, you had also gotten sober and you stopped drinking, what was the history of that? How long did you battle with that? And what did it take for you to finally overcome it?
So it wasn't really like a battle or anything. I was never like a heavy drinker. I was just kind of, average. And I started in high school, partying and that social kind of thing that you go through as a teenager. So it was never like an issue for me, but I just realized even this casual amount of drinking is obviously going to harm my vessel. And so when I decided to start focusing on my health and, go plant based and stop taking medication, of course, that just came along with it. So, yeah, it was a huge, huge key that I think, it's strange to me that it's so normalized that we poison our bodies. Like, why is that socially acceptable? Yet, just eating fruits and vegetables is like so strange and indifferent, and nobody's doing that. But it's socially acceptable to just poison yourself on the weekends, and so yeah, it helped me wake up to just more and more of the strange programming that we have in society.
It is strange. It is. When you think about it, when you really break it down, it's very backwards. Like
Yeah.
we're waiting for Friday, or we're waiting for Saturday, or we're waiting for that day off that we can go out and get drunk and get plastered and get sloshed and get slammed and we have so many words to talk about. Oh, I'm gonna just get drunk. I'm gonna black out, right?
Yeah.
Let me just go get blacked out. Like, let me just go get hammered. Let me just go get, we have so many words to describe the feeling of, like, why would you want to do that to yourself? Is that self-love? Like,
No, it's harming yourself, and we don't know any better, like growing up in this society, and it's really sad that that's just how the program is. But I know it's there for a reason, and I know that we are supposed to wake up to these programs and overcome them, and help wake other people up and inspire a change, because there's so much wrong with humanity, and there are so many things holding us back from our true potential as the beings on this planet that should be taking care of the planet. So it all starts with taking care of ourselves, and so we just need to like have that awareness and yeah, just really wake up to what's going on.
absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with you. And you remind me, Larissa, because there was a comedian who I think his name, yeah, I believe his name is Tony Baker. And he was talking about this topic when it came to sobriety and how he stopped drinking. And as soon as he stopped drinking, his friends, his family, his loved ones, everybody was like freaking out. They were like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
what? You don't drink? Wait, why not? Like, wait, why
Yeah.
don't you? Why don't you drink? Wait, what happened? They were all asking him, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what happened. Why did you stop? Like
Yeah.
did you hurt somebody? Did you get into an accident? Did you beat on your wife? Did you harm your kid? Like what happened? Why don't you drink poison? You
Yeah.
know, like, why do you no longer drink poison? Why did you stop drinking poison? You
Yeah.
know? And
Hmm.
he was like, if he would have said, he stopped drinking water, nobody would bat an eye, nobody would say
Yeah.
anything. But when he said
Yeah.
I stopped drinking alcohol, all of a sudden they had questions.
Yeah. No, I get that a lot. People are like, "Oh, like, so you had a problem with alcohol? Like, were you an alcoholic?" I'm like, "No, I just didn't want to poison myself anymore. That's it."
What other reason do you need?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
So did you have a social group? Did you have a circle of friends, that you changed when your diet changed, when your habits changed, when your, things changed? Like, did you have to change the people in your environment as well?
So it's not like I really tried to change the people in my life, like the people I was surrounded with. It's just that it happened very naturally. I think that happens to a lot of people. People just kind of fall away, and then you make space in your life for people that are more in alignment with your new vibration. And I think, you know, I know that everything starts as vibration and as energy, so it makes a lot of sense that when you shift your energetic vibration, you're no longer going to be compatible with what you were compatible with in the past when you were at a different vibration. So yeah, I didn't really like, cut people out of my life or anything, but it just happened over time naturally. And I'm so grateful for the space that I've cultivated in my life to call in people that, are on this like more compatible vibration with where I'm at now, where a lot of my community and friends and loved ones are, very spiritually minded as well and into health and wellness. And some of my friends, aren't. And that's cool too, but they have these other sparks in them that we connect, vibrationally in a different way. And that's all I care about. I don't care about being around people that do like that live exactly like I do. It just has naturally happened that most of the people in my life do, but that's not what I look for. It's an energy thing. You just want to be around people with good energy that feels good to be around.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The way that you broke that down, Larissa, that makes total sense. It's not that you were, intentionally rejecting, but you both were just no longer
Yeah,
connecting.
you just drift apart. If some people that can only engage socially in a drinking situation or going out to a restaurant and having meat and fried food, like you just kind of when you get out of those habits, then you're out of those environments, and then you're not around those people. So you just drift apart. And that's
Natural.
fine. In life, I think it's good to have like less attachment and more just desire to be your best self. And we all, you know, are on our own journeys, and we can all respect each other's journeys and have lots of love for everyone just doing their thing. And yeah, just focus on your own spiritual development, your own development as a human, rather than like having so much attachment to like, your external reality.
Right, right. I agree. It's like filling your cup,
Hmm.
and once your cup is full, you can just pour from the brim or pour from the overflow,
Yeah. Hmm.
instead of worrying about, oh, I need to go to that cup, I need to fill that cup, I need to pour in that cup, just pour in your cup and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually goes into a huge part of my journey was in the past, when I was like severely depressed and just like not doing well mentally, physically, emotionally when I was younger. I was a super super people
Mhm.
pleaser, very codependent in my relationships, and just didn't have that awareness of the love within myself that I didn't know that process of filling my cup up first, because now that I do that, now that I intentionally do things every single day to feel my best, now I have all this extra love that's always overflowing into other people in my life. I have all this infinite amount of energy rather than being drained. And also because of that, it's shifted the people I attract into my life because I'm coming from a different vibrational energy. So, like when I was a people pleaser, I was pulling in a lot of people that were going to manipulate me and take advantage of that. Versus now, it's like I don't really come into contact with people like that anymore. Instead, I just come into contact with people that are on this same vibe of just, oh, we have all this love to give, and it's an equal energy exchange and it feels good. So yeah, it makes a really big difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that observation, when you can analyze like, oh wow, it's like A plus B equals, it's like an equation, you know?
Exactly.
You see it like, oh, okay, I'm no longer on that wavelength. We're no longer in that broadband width, like now we're on a new frequency, so we do differently things frequently, you know? On this
Yeah.
new frequency. So blessings, I love that you put those two and two together and you saw how things started to collide and coincide with each other.
Hmm.
And when you changed yourself on the inside, things started to change on the outside. So,
Hmm.
when you're talking about Larissa as well about going through depression, and you mentioned earlier on, you mentioned something called the dark night of the soul. I've heard this before, but if somebody didn't really understand what you were talking about, how would you describe a dark night of the soul?
I would say it's just a part of like the human evolution, since we live in a realm of polarity, and in this realm we need some sort of like obstacle to overcome to push us into evolving. And so I've noticed like whenever on my journey I've been ready for that next like evolution, something in my life will need to fall apart in order to make room for a new reality. And it's like a butterfly, when when the caterpillar goes into a cocoon, it dissolves into complete nothingness. And in that moment, it doesn't know what's coming next. It's just surrendering to the experience of everything that it once knew falling apart, so that it can completely like rebuild and transform into the next evolution. And it's a really uncomfortable situation, and if you don't know what's going on in the moment, it can be very painful and confusing. And if you have a lot of attachment to your old reality, you'll have a lot of resistance, and the process could last a lot longer. But if you gain the spiritual awareness of what's going on, oh, this is a dark night of the soul, then, and like everything in my life is falling apart, then you can have more acceptance of what's going on. And you'll still probably go through a grieving process, and you'll have a lot of emotions to process that you need to express and experience. And we all came here as humans to experience all the realms of possibilities when it comes to emotions, and the good and the bad and the positive and the negative. Like, it's all just a part of the experience of being human. We're not here to just feel good all the time, but it's good to come back to that. But we need to have that experience of polarity, because if you've never felt bad, then you can't really like know how great it is to feel good. And every time I've gone through a dark night of the soul, when I come out on the other end, once I go through the process, then a new chapter begins, a new life begins with more blessings, with more space for new opportunities, because I let go of all that stuff from my past reality. And I've entered into this new chapter with excitement that, oh wow, okay, this is a new opportunity, it's fresh, like there's all these, you know, possibilities. And because I have that perspective of how much pain I was in, now all the good feelings feel so much better. Like, they feel even better than I've ever felt before. And so I've really just embraced this process that we have here on earth in this realm of polarity. And I think the more we have acceptance for the fact that that's what we're here to experience, and it's how we grow, and we grow through the pain. We don't, I mean, it's not that we can grow through good things too, but it is just a part of our current experience, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. So that's kind of how I would describe it. And for me, it's usually happened um, like when I've had something shift in my awareness, like during 2020, like that was a big time for me. Or like like when I first just started learning about how like corrupt society is, and all these kind of things, like these dark things came into my awareness. And then I started realizing like, oh wow, like there's a lot of things that I didn't know about. And so my whole paradigm of reality shifted, and a lot of things in my life had to fall apart for me to step into a new like way that I exist in the world with a different mindset, with a different energy field, with a different, maybe even a different environment. Like I've moved a lot during these different phases of my life and being surrounded by a different community. And, and yeah, so you invite in a new reality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for expressing that, because it's tough for a lot of people when they're going through that dark night of the soul for them to say, okay, you know, I'm stepping into something completely different. Like you said, that was a beautiful example of the butterfly and how just coming into complete mush in the cocoon, and then now you're in a completely new consciousness. Now you're a completely new being. Now it's even more freeing. There's a lot more that you're seeing, there's a lot more that you are. So it's interesting, like, to even go through a grieving of the past versions of yourself. And I remember that you put up something actually about Dr. Joe, and he was saying that we are not linear. you
Mm-hmm.
know he was saying
Yeah.
something about us not being linear beings. Do you know all about what he was talking about there?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you learn about quantum physics, you realize like time is not linear, and basically your experience as a human is not linear. Like we are just so much more than these physical beings here in like time, where you can think about like 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 10 years from now. Well, I mean, you can assume what would happen,
Right.
but in reality, like when you actually get down to like the quantum reality of how this universe actually works, there's only one moment that exists, and that is like the present moment. That is all exists. And like Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about it too, just like the power of now. That's the only place where we can ever exist. So that's why like time is not linear, because you can actually like go into a deep state of meditation and you can revisit your past, you can revisit past lives, you can go into your future and create your future like in a meditative state. Like I do it every day, where I have these goals in the future, and every single day in the present moment when I'm meditating, I go into my future and start creating that reality that there. And it's the only place we can create from is the present moment. And so I guess like that's a huge concept that he talks about, is our ability to actually tap into that awareness that we're not linear, and we're way more beyond the physical than we think. Like we're very powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. That I always say, like, the only limitation is our imagination.
Mhm.
you know like, how far do you want to go? Because there's really no limit. it's it,
Mhm.
it's so fascinating. You hear these things, and it's also just coming from someone who knows, someone that this is not just from book knowledge, this is not just from someone else, it's testimony. This is your own testimony. You've testified because you've tested,
Mhm.
you've seen these things play out, you've seen these things show up. And when you're talking about the power of polarity, the power of perspective, and the power of the present moment, these are very powerful for us to know. But I also want to know from you, Larissa, because you put up something earlier about the power of the pineal. You
Mm.
know, this pineal
Mhm.
that people don't really understand, and it's kind of mystical, kind of
Mhm.
magical, and kind of illusory for most people. So,
Mhm.
could you talk about this pineal gland?
Yeah, yeah. I could go deep on that one. So, I mean, the pineal gland, it's a gland inside the center of our brain, and it's often referred to as the third eye. A lot of people, have heard of that. And, a huge part of its function is it's basically in charge of releasing like melatonin and serotonin, and releasing different types of hormones for our bodies. But those are the main uh, hormones that it has control over. But it also is basically, um, it's what taps us into our power to manifest, and also to connect to the frequencies around us. It's basically like an antenna in our brain that taps us into receiving and putting out information, just like an antenna, and connecting us to like Wi-Fi, but from the universe. And this gland has been attacked in modern society, by the use of fluoride, fluoridating the water, putting fluoride in toothpaste, because it calcifies this pineal gland and basically inhibits its ability to function and tap us into our sixth sense of being able to perceive frequencies and like have this higher state of intuition. And there's different techniques out there to decalcify and activate the pineal gland, because we should have very active pineal glands. I mean, back in ancient times, like humans were a lot more telepathic, a lot more powerful in the use of this gland to just manifest reality. And we can even tap into, heightened awareness and messages from the universe to, come up with greater ideas for our personal lives or for society. Like, we can just tap into receiving information, and the way you can manifest with it as well is like in a state of meditation. Basically, if your pineal gland is active, and there's a way you can activate it, and I'll talk a little bit about that too, but in meditation, you can tap into your pineal gland and set an intention of something you want to manifest, something in the future that you want to create. And you put that thought out there, and with the thought, with focusing on that one point of intention, you put the thought out there, and then through basically tapping into an emotional state with the thought, it goes out, and with the emotion, it draws it back in. So then you tap into an emotion like love or gratitude, or the feeling of what it would be like to be living in that future reality that you're trying to create, and that brings it in. So the thought puts it out, the emotion brings it in, and you're basically like this torus field. Yeah, it becomes even like more powerful the more you just sit in meditation and feel those heightened states of emotions. But the way you can do that, on a higher level, is by activating your pineal gland. And so there's like a breath technique that you can do, or just lots of different types of breath work that you can do. But Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches a specific one. And it takes a while to really get it right, and to like get the technique down correctly, so that you're really activating your pineal gland, and it helps it to decalcify. And I do have a YouTube video that I made on my YouTube that really goes deep into teaching that technique, because it's a little complex, but with enough practice, you can get the pineal gland to activate, and you'll feel it. Your whole body will just like convulse, and you'll just feel this explosion of electricity. And because we are electrical beings, like we have electricity in our body. And so when you activate that pineal gland and you electrify it, and it just becomes active and turned on, you turned on that radio receiver that, like I said, you can use to manifest by putting a thought out and using an emotion to bring that reality to you. Yeah. So it's so powerful that we can do that. And then at the last Dr. Joe retreat that I was at, we also learned how to use our pineal gland to naturally release other chemicals beyond just like serotonin and melatonin, like I mentioned. But you can just sit in meditation and tell your pineal gland to release like different chemicals for like that are like painkillers, or you can tell it to release DMT, and then you'll have like some hallucinogenic experience. Like the pineal gland, you do not have to take medication to like produce a chemical in your body. You can tell your pineal gland to produce a chemical, and it knows how to do it. If you basically at the retreat, we were being shown the molecular structure of serotonin, for example, and then we would go into a state of trance and meditation, and we would tell the pineal gland, okay, release serotonin, and then it would. Like, that's how powerful we are. Like, we don't need to like take melatonin to go to sleep. You can just tell your pineal gland to produce melatonin, and it will. Wow. you just have to get in a state of like meditation.
Right.
But it's powerful.
So it's the meditation that's the foundation.
Well, the meditation, getting into a state of trance and being able to tap into your subconscious mind is basically, I like to see it as we're like shutting down like this computer that's like running and like it has all this activity. We're shutting it down and we're going and we're coding. We're going into the coding process and we're recoding how this program is going to run in the computer. But we have to turn off the computer to do that. So we turn off the conscious mind, the thinking mind, and we shut it down, and then we go in and we recode, the program. And so that's basically what meditation can allow you to do. Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do in meditation, but that's one way I like to do it, is to reprogram the mind to like, because then you can live as a new human. You can literally like reprogram your personality. If you want to be more successful, then reprogram yourself for success.
Yeah.
If you want to eat healthier or start a workout program, then reprogram yourself to be that person that wakes up early and goes on a run or goes to the gym. Like we're so powerful. We get to create who we are.
Oh my gosh. This is amazing. This is brilliant. Oh man, like I'm getting chills. You know?
I love this stuff. Like I could talk about this stuff for hours.
Yeah, we're the same. Like we love learning, we love expansion, we love just, broadening the horizon and just continuing to grow and just learn and just acquire like knowledge and wisdom and lessons and blessings and like it's just so much, and it just for me it never gets overwhelming because I know, I have the rest of my life to learn as much as I want and it just keeps going. It just never stops, it never ends. So, this is amazing right here. What you were just talking about, Larissa, about how you don't have to take melatonin. You could just tell your pineal, hey, melatonin activate, and you just activate it right there. Or serotonin, activate, or, like dopamine, you just say activate, right?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
activate right
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
So we don't need an external to do what we can do on the internal. And
Yeah, everything is within
it's
us.
all within. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, why do you feel like these types of things, like why don't we have conscious curriculum? Why is this knowledge not taught in college? Why don't we learn these things, in schools? Like if we have this vehicle, this vessel, this body, if we're all working with this machinery, this human biocomputer, this biomachine, why wouldn't we all, learn how to use it at our fullest capacity?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're coming into the new earth where like that is going to be the reality. Like children are going to start being raised with this information. But, there's many reasons why it's been withheld from us, and it's ancient knowledge, like the ancient civilizations that we have never even been taught of in school knew about these, powers, and we once were much more powerful beings, and so we're coming back into that. And yeah, there's many reasons why it's not taught in the modern curriculum, and why doctors are not taught about it. They're taught about prescribing pills. Like it's just because of the capitalistic society that we live in, where it's just about making money and hoarding money. Like, the powers that be, like they like to hoard the money and the power at the top, and not allow us to have the power that we were all born with. It's all within us. So we're moving out of that reality and coming into a new way of existing on this planet. So yeah, it's all in divine timing, and we're getting there. I think more and more people are waking up. So yeah, we just have to create it.
I agree. We're making it now. We're manifesting it, even now as we speak. And that's a good question, Larissa, because when you're talking about, money, hoarding money and resources and capitalism and all that, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to finances, or when it comes to just the concepts of what abundance is and what prosperity is and what money is, what do you feel it is? Like for you, what do you feel abundance, money, like what do you feel these things actually are?
Yeah, so I see money and abundance and all these things. as a frequency. I mean, everything is technically non-physical, even though we live in the realm where we have this illusion that everything is physical, but everything is actually non-physical and a frequency. And I think people want money and wealth because what they truly want is freedom. And in this modern society where you kind of need this paper or this number in your bank account to have freedom, that's another part of the illusion. But when you tap into that feeling of freedom, when you really make that your focus, then the universe has a way to support you always. You always have abundance. Abundance isn't, oh, I have all this money in my bank account. Abundance is just always having all your needs met so that you can live your purpose, you can have that freedom, that joy, and the more you feel those feelings before you have this money in your bank account, that's the key is to feel it before you actually have that goal that you want to reach for how much money you feel like you need for that freedom. You can't focus on the number or the money. I think you need to focus on just the feelings of freedom and just the joy to live, an abundant life, and then going out there and taking action and doing things you're passionate about. When you're not focusing on the money, it just flows. And that's abundance, the flow, the constant out and in flow, and spending money without fear, releasing money, letting it flow out, knowing and having faith that it's going to flow back in because you have an open heart and you're living in that abundance frequency. So we can use money as a tool, even though I don't think that we need money in society. I don't think that like it's a really great system, and I think we'll eventually move out of it. But since it's the tool that we have to work with now, it's like, okay, we can use it as a tool. We can learn how to use it properly. Like I said, spending it without fear, and maybe like gaining knowledge on how to invest properly. Like you can still partake in the use of it. It's not an evil thing. And I think we have to shift our mindset around it too. A lot of people are like, oh, money's evil. But then you're placing that fear over it and you're blocking yourself to it. So we just have to have like a open heart to how we use it, how we use this tool essentially. And yeah, so that's kind of my perspective on it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You really are like you're wise beyond your years.
Oh,
I
thank
can tell
you.
that seriously, like I can tell you've really studied these things, that you really, you've put a lot of thought into these things. You've really meditated on them and you've really researched because, when you're talking about us being transceivers and, we transmit and we also receive, and that we think that goes out, we feel that goes in. And I feel myself, I'm already expanded just from today's conversation,
Oh.
just from this, seriously, like right now. And even people who have been commenting while you've been talking, if we can just touch on, because I don't know if they had questions for you, but I know that best case scenario said creating healthy habits shouldn't be difficult at all. However, I've been a little slow at catching on. I love the inspiration and really appreciate you both. And some other people were saying as well, they're just complimenting you and just, saying that this is an amazing conversation and that
Oh,
you just
thank
have an awesome vibration. You're just putting it out.
you.
You know? So,
Well, I feel the same way about you, and I feel like that's why we connected, like we both felt each other's vibe and we're like, okay, yeah, like this is a cool vibe. Let's tap in together and have a cool conversation.
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm
I
super grateful.
just with what you've given us here today, Larissa, I feel like we could have 3 more of these and we'd still be scratching the surface.
I know, right? No, but like this is what I like to do. Like these are the kind of friends that I have in my life, the kind of people I hang out with is people I can just sit down for hours and just like dive deep into these topics. Like it's so much fun, and that really like it's so life-giving, and it's just it's how we create more positivity and change in the world is we're casting spells with our words. And so when we speak about these topics and the solutions and our journeys, it's like we're just creating inspiration and momentum into that new reality.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like you say, we're casting spells, like, just like TV, right? With our words, we're we're telling a vision, right? Television, right? We're telling a vision. We're channeling, we're broadcasting,
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
going out, and so many lives that it's touching, not just ours, but it's creating that ripple effect throughout everybody. The energy, it just keeps going.
Hmm.
Yeah, it keeps going. So you mentioned, just right before we go, you mentioned when you were talking about abundance and the wealth frequencies and just this currency, the currency, that current chi that's flowing in and flowing out like the ebb and flow of the ocean. You
Hmm.
mentioned freedom, and just like, what is freedom to you? What is purpose to you? When you talk about freedom and you talk about your purpose, what would you say those two things are for Larissa? Like,
Hmm.
what gives you the feeling of freedom, and
Hmm.
what gives you the feeling of fulfillment? Like, this is my purpose.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is such a great note to end on. Because yeah, this is something like I focus on like basically in my morning meditation every day is creating this reality where like since I am on a raw vegan diet and I'm so passionate about it, I love it. And I love like tropical fruits. That's like my favorite food in the world is tropical fruits. Um, and anytime I've been to the tropics, I'm like, this feels like home. Like I've never felt more at home than in the tropics, surrounded by all these organic tropical fruits. So I have this vision that I am, walking into every single day. I'm walking closer and closer into that vision where I, have this beautiful land where I have all these beautiful fruit trees that I've grown and just living, amongst nature, one with nature, giving back to nature and giving back to the community I'm around with all this abundance of tropical fruits that I've grown and just connecting with a beautiful community. And I also would love to like build a retreat space where I can have people come and do retreats for health and wellness, like yoga retreats, juicing, like raw food retreats, and just have like a healing center. So to me, my purpose is really, you know, bringing that dream into reality, like just like tapping into that new earth frequency where we're all connected, we're all one with nature, with each other, and we're all helping each other heal. And yeah, that's to me that is freedom, just having that abundance and that freedom to like grow my own food and know where my food is coming from too, because I really, that's another thing that's like this system that we live in that I'm not really fond of is like not knowing where my food is coming from. And so I try to always shop at like the farmers markets as much as possible, but to have the ability to grow my own food and share that abundance with others and help educate others about health and wellness and help them heal, like that to me is like where I'm headed. And I think that it's not only beneficial for me, but I know it's beneficial for the vibration of the planet and the earth itself, and just going back to like those more regenerative practices. And yeah, so that's definitely my goal.
Thank you for sharing that. You're already there. You're doing it
Yeah.
now. You're
Yeah, no,
doing it right
exactly.
now.
I do it every morning. I'm in that reality, in my consciousness, it goes to that reality, and it only exists now. And I know that because I exist there simultaneously as I exist here, and
Right.
I feel it. I live every day as if I'm already living that. And it feels so nourishing.
Hmm. Yeah. So thank you, Larissa. Thank you just for being on purpose. Thank you for being in service. I love the vision. I love that the mission. I love that you have this purpose within you, and it really feels like divinity. It feels like a divine calling. It feels like something that just really, enlivens your spirit, feeds your soul. And
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. So, if this is someone's first time seeing you and they want to know more about your offerings, your services, or just where they can get more information on you or receive something that you offer for people, where should people go to receive that?
Yeah, so if you just go to my Instagram and click the link in my bio, you can apply for a guided health transformation. I specialize in helping people transition to a plant-based diet or a high raw or a completely raw vegan diet. just to help clean out their body. And I also help people with their mindset because that's kind of the biggest blockage I see a lot of people when it comes to trying to transition to a healthy lifestyle. So I work a lot on the mindset aspect and, teaching people about meditation. I can offer like hypnotherapy sessions to overcome blockages in their, subconscious mind. So yeah, I'm also about to release my first like recipe ebook that's just all 100% raw, mostly fruit based, super high vibe recipes that are like super simple, like not overly complex with all these ingredients you have to buy that you have to have like a dehydrator, nothing like that. It's just very simple, really, really nourishing high vibe recipes that I'm releasing really soon. So if you follow me over on Instagram, you can stay tuned for that. And I also have a YouTube channel that you can find at the link in my bio. So I post every week and yeah, check me out over there and subscribe.
Awesome. Awesome. She covers all the bases. All the bases are covered, y'all.
Yep.
So definitely go follow. Congratulations on the recipe. The release is coming out, the recipe book. Awesome. And definitely, yeah, check her out on YouTube. So much good information, just a wealth of knowledge, resourcefulness, and just wow. I can't wait, I can't wait to see where you go from here, how you grow from here, and would love to do this again, Larissa. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, let's do
Thank you.
it again for sure. I really appreciate you. I also appreciate your service to humanity as well and everything you're doing and the knowledge you're spreading. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me. And this was really fun. And I would love to do it again.
Awesome. All right. Well, you take care. Take care.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Good.
Bye. Talk to you later.
See you.